Hey guys, Cody with Rattlesnake Ranch here, and we've got another extra different video for you today, but I think a really cool one. So we had a very special snake at our zoo pass away, and I'll give you a little bit of the backstory. This is a western diamondback. It's an adult, approximately 4 feet long, and this snake was one of our most important dog training snakes that we use for rattlesnake ready or rattlesnake aversion training for dogs. We've used this snake for years. It's worked with thousands of dogs, probably saving many of them from envenomations. That's their job. We've got several adult diamondbacks that we rotate through. Eventually we'll make a full video about our dog training. But anyway, very important snake. Also to me personally, the snake had a wonderful temperament, adapted to captivity well. It was a wild snake originally. It was taken from an area that was being developed and given to us. And yeah, again, it just had a great temperament, so we used it for our dog training. So a very special snake. And to give you a little bit of the backstory as to what happened. So this snake, again, we've been using it for years, and at some point I noticed a mass that was beginning to form in its tail end. And so it was something that as soon as I noticed it, we took note of it and began to watch it closely. And sure enough, it progressed and got worse fairly rapidly, actually. And so that's when we brought our vets in to kind of see what was going on. And so we, did some scans, tried to do a biopsy. Everything kind of pointed to cancer, but we didn't get much more info than that. And so as it continued to progress, eventually I got faced with the decision of, maybe we could operate and fix it, but it's kind of uncertain. And as I was contemplating on what decision to make, the snake ended up passing. And so, big bummer, but I wanted to accomplish two things with this snake. Again, it was a very special snake, and the two things are, we wanted to do a necropsy to kind of just get more of an answer, like what was it? Was it cancer? What tissues was it associated with? And so we were able to do that, and also wanted to preserve its skeleton because, again, very special snake, and yeah, that's what you see right here. And so we do have a dermestid beetle colony here at our zoo. And so yeah, we're able to process the skeleton. The latter part of this video, I will go into detail on how I do that. I'm by no means an expert at it, but again, we do have some beetles, and I want to learn how to do this more and more. So this is a snake that I don't want to botch it with. It's very special. This will go up on the wall somewhere with a little placard. So yeah, we did a little story post or poll on our Instagram kind of saying, hey, would you guys like to see a rattlesnake necropsy / anatomy lesson? And I did that because I wasn't too sure if this was going to be a little bit too much for the average person or if it would be a really cool and educational video. And long story short, got a pretty overwhelming response on people showing interest on, yeah, let's see it. I think people have an interest in what a necropsy looks like, rattlesnake anatomy and all that. So you guys asked for it, so here it is. Special thanks to Dr. Frank Willig. He was the one that performed the necropsy right here at our facility. He allowed me to film it, and I think he did a great job. I asked him to walk us through the anatomy of a rattlesnake too. I just figured, again, good educational content. So he did a wonderful job with that. So that footage will be coming up in just a second. But yeah, Frank works for Arizona Exotic Animal Hospital. Arizona Exotic is our veterinarian. Well, they have multiple veterinarians that have come out here, including the owner. They've always been wonderful to me. I can't recommend them enough. And they're the ones that do our inspection annually for our zoo license. They've helped us with the occasional things that pop up with a collection this size. And yeah, they've just been great. So I'll put a link to their website on the screen, and I will also put it in the description below. They have offices in the Phoenix area, including pretty close to us. And they also have another one in Mesa. They've got one down in Tucson, and I believe they have a new office in Colorado, and maybe even more by now. So yeah, check them out. Great exotic animal hospital and team of veterinarians. And yeah, so as you saw, there was another additional disclaimer with this episode. I'm going to go ahead and do a verbal one now. So if you are a little squeamish about blood and guts and all that, then this video is probably not for you. Maybe I would suggest skipping it. But if you think you can handle it, I do think this, what Frank did is very educational for you reptile keepers and people just interested in this stuff. So hope you guys enjoy the footage. Hope you learned something. And after that part, I'll go into a little more detail on how we clean these up using dermestid beetles. So enjoy watching.
Easy enough to get into. It's still pretty sharp. Good. So, how old was this guy again? Ish. I know he was wild caught.
Sure.
You had him for.
I had him for several years.
Yeah.
He's probably a 15 plus 20-year-old snake, maybe.
So, very mature. Believed male. We'll find out. Because hopefully we'll be able to find the testes as well and the hemipenes. Old Western Diamondback. So, basically, kind of starting from the top and moving through. This is our trachea, or a windpipe right here, this kind of corrugated looking tube that comes down. This is going to enter into our lungs. This is one that's already open, so you actually can see the inside of the lung here. It has this kind of honeycomb pattern to it on the front half. The back half is mostly just an air sac that's back here. Most snakes, including the rattlesnakes, only have one lung. They only have a it's the left lung, I believe, and the right one is either not present or just a vestigial little sac. Some types of snakes, like most of our boas and pythons, do have two lungs, but most snakes don't. And then, so running next to that, we have the esophagus running down, 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 and then into our stomach is down kind of in here, and that runs through into our intestines. The heart is right here. Like with most of our reptiles, snakes only have a 3-chambered heart. They have pretty much all the same chambers, except their ventriculus, which is the big chamber down here, doesn't have a septum or a complete separation between the two halves. So there is a little mixing of blood as it functions, but it functions pretty much the same way as the mammalian heart. This is our liver right here. This, metabolizes lots of nutrients and toxins, help filter the blood out. Moving down from there, and as you can see, it's very, it starts all the way up here and then runs all the way down, probably underneath here some. So pretty much all of our anatomy is very tubular. This looks like our stomach here. So this is the start of our gastrointestinal or GI tract. This is our gallbladder here. You can see some of the bile, the green, is leaking out of it. So there has been a little leakage after death, but overall it still looks pretty well intact. Bile helps with digestion and absorption of nutrients after it's been broken down and kind of digested by the stomach. All of this here, this kind of white stuff, this is all fat. So those are all energy reserves that the snakes put down after being fed well. Not too well, this isn't too much fat. This is a pretty appropriate amount for a captive animal, but that's all there. This is where we start to get into the abnormal. So I presume at this point, basically starting right here, this is a really dilated piece of colon that is full of food, because I presume the colon and the lower GI and intestines are being obstructed by this big mass, which we palpated a while ago. It's probably a cancerous mass and is taking up most of the end of the body here. The kidneys are running over underneath here. So they do have two kidneys that have this kind of lobulated or multi-sectioned look to them. On a lot of our ultrasound and stuff, we often describe them as looking like a stack of coins just because of how it looks on the imaging. And then we have, you can see there's some right here running through as well, that kind of brown in there. And then that all terminates in our cloaca. This is where our urinary system, GI system, and reproductive systems all terminate and enter into before they come to our vent, which is the opening that everything comes out of. This is where the pee and poop, male and female reproductive organs all come out of. So that is pretty much all the anatomy that we can see right now. And then we'll, get some better views of it as we start to dissect stuff out. So right now I'm just going to be working to take the lung out as far up as I can get it. So now I'm starting on the gastrointestinal or GI tract. That's everything that includes everything from the esophagus where it meets the mouth down to, in this case, the cloaca where the rectum terminates. So basically, this is all of our stomach here. From about here down to about here. And then this is the first section of our intestines here. It's called the duodenum. Now we're getting to the big stuff. So now that we've gotten this deep, we can see our internal reproductive organs, which, because this appears to be a male, is this one right here, and then I suspect this right here. These are the testes, which are the male gonads. They sit pretty much right up against the spine. They're completely internal. They don't have a scrotum or anything like that. And then they track downwards through their vas deferens, just like we do, and until they reach the hemipenes down here. So there's one. This one, if that's what this is really abnormal. It's pretty much lost all of its form. It has this kind of like millet bird seed look to it. So something not normal going on there. There's one kidney, and you can see the kind of segmented nature of it. It's not that there are separate segments there, it just kind of narrows down at regular intervals. Okay, so definitely not GI, so I can fully separate it from that. So this is our GI here. So intestines that run down into our probably colon area, and then this is our cloaca right here. This is pretty much from here down is where everything terminates. This can just boop, 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 boop. Then so that's all a bunch of urates coming out with some urine. Might be a little big to make it out. But yeah. So I did tear stuff just a little bit there at the end. But these are all urates, which is the main, one of the main waste products of our reptiles. And they excrete it from the kidneys either into the bladder in species that have it or directly into the cloaca in species that don't. And there really aren't any snakes that have bladders. It's mostly our turtles and tortoises and some lizards that have true bladders. So we can separate this all out. Down here.
All right, go ahead and walk through that.
Yeah. So now we've gotten the whole GI tract out. So this is from basically the start of the stomach and the end of the esophagus, going down through the stomach to, this is where the intestines start. It's kind of a little knobby bit right here. And the intestines go down, 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 down to the area where it got obstructed by the mass, and then down to the cloaca, which we dissected out there. Yeah. Let's see if I can dissect it away at all.
Here's the other kidney.
Yeah, that is, yeah, pretty much, that's almost certainly arising from the kidney. They're so closely adhered to each other. You can see this this yellow streak here is part of the ureter, which is what connects the kidney to the cloaca. So that's all urates that are in there. That's why all this yellow stuff is out here. So yeah, this is a mass that most likely has grown out of the kidney, which is a known thing to happen in snakes, especially in this region of the body. So we can cut this bad boy open. Yep. So I'm going to pretty much take it right at the center here. Yeah, that's cancer right there. All that just unstructured pink tissue. And see on the, I know we saw it on the ultrasound initially, this is just a big pocket of blood within the mass. So this is what we call a cavitation, a cavity within the mass. And there's multiple little ones, but there was that big one underneath. Yep. So you can see all these big cavities of blood within the mass itself. So it could have been why we passed away so quickly, was we bled from this, which is why there was so much blood around it, and the mass may have ruptured in some way, and it essentially bled out internally. But that's cancer right there.
All right, I hope you guys enjoyed watching that. Thank you again, Dr. Willig, for that little rattlesnake anatomy lesson and for performing the necropsy and confirming it was cancer. So now I just want to spend just a few minutes talking about using beetles to preserve skeletons. So that's what we did with this. You can feed the beetles almost any kind of meat, and they will eat guts and other stuff too, but it's ideal just to feed them an already prepped specimen. So something that's already been skinned and already been gutted, which for the necropsy, we pretty much already accomplished that anyway. And yeah, toss this into our beetle colony. I've got it right here. Let me move this guy out of the way. And these guys are right here. There are thousands of dermestid beetles in this tub right here. I don't know the actual number. It's hard to estimate. There's some people that can give a good estimate based on the amount of food they can process, like based on its weight and how quickly and all that. But I don't actually know the number, but I know there's a lot. And I know this because when I first got them, I was only giving them tiny pieces of meat, and it took them, a few days to consume that. Now we can plop a pork chop in here and it'll be gone overnight. And so when they got to that level, I knew, okay, they should be abundant enough to be able to work on skeletons. So at the most recent reptile show that we were at, so we just did a video about that reptile show, the West Valley Reptile Showcase in Glendale, Arizona, we brought some starter colonies of these beetles to that show, and I sold out of them. And so I think there's people that are interested in this process and want to get into it. And so I told them when they bought them that we will be making a dermestid beetle care video. And so that is something that I've gotten down, at least I think. And so I'm going to share with you some tips and tricks and just my expertise. I shouldn't say expertise, but my experience working with these. They are pretty easy. They do have a smell. So if you live in a small apartment with roommates, yeah, maybe you don't get into this unless you have a good way to like vent the smell outside. It's really not the beetles that smell, it's the food. It's the decaying, tissues, their frass. That's what has the smell. But real quick, just kind of their care. Yeah, this is the tub they're in. We got some vents on the sides. They're in aspen snake bedding. We keep things really dry in this tub. They get pretty much all their water from the meat that they're processing. I've heard that if you keep them too wet and too hot, the beetles will actually fly. So they are capable of flying, but they pretty much never do when conditions are dry and at room temperature. So another reason a lot of things get too muggy. But yeah, we put pieces of styrofoam in there as well. So a lot of this white, you can kind of see it from there. Yeah, we put pieces of styrofoam in there, and that is something for them to climb on. They chew through it, they'll molt in it, they'll pupate, and so it's actually important to have in there. And so, yeah, anytime we get a shipment of anything, even just from Amazon, if there's any styrofoam in it, we'll recycle it and give it to these guys to chew through. Other than that, that's kind of the spark notes of how we keep them. And again, this colony I got as just a small starter online, and we just pumped them full of reduced price grocery store meat. So I would buy things like pork chops that were reduced in price because they were just a day or two out from their sell-by date. And they don't care. They'll eat pork, they'll eat fish, they'll eat beef, and we just kind of rotate through different things. And that's how we built this colony up in number to the point they could handle an actual snake. And yeah, so that's pretty much it for those guys. Wanted to mention, so this whole process is fascinating. And when we did this, I actually had this snake kind of on a table just like this, as you're seeing, like in our display room. And again, they knocked it out in only a couple days, but we did have some visitors over those couple days, and because it was visible, they watched and they were fascinated. So this got me thinking. We absolutely plan to build an actual exhibit where we can place a snake into a glass enclosure full of beetles, and guests will be able to see in real time the beetles processing skeletons. Again, we don't get a whole lot of dead snakes here, which is a good thing, but so there may be more times that it's eating random pieces of meat and not an actual snake skeleton. But between roadkill snakes, friends that herp and find dead ones, we'll probably have something here and there, and I think for guests to be able to watch, it'd be pretty cool. So my buddy Bailey with Camo Cages, he's done some custom projects for us before, including a really cool educational display cabinet, a poster display. So yeah, we are going to start discussing a cool design for just a beetle colony that can be watched as they process skeletons. Okay, so enough about the beetles there. Keep an eye out for a future video, especially to the people who purchased some of the starter colonies from us at the recent show. We plan on making a full care video, a little more detail and tips and tricks and whatnot about the beetles, so watch for that video. And going back to this guy right here. So now that the beetles have cleaned the skeleton, the hard work begins. Depending on how I want to preserve this. So it looks really cool already. A lot of people stop right here. I shouldn't say that. This will fall apart if I, move it around or bump it, or especially if I dropped it, it would be a pile of ribs. So there's just little bits of tendon pieces just kind of barely holding it together right now. So the easiest thing I could do would be to flip this over very carefully and glue every little rib. And that is going to be a very tedious process, but that would be the easy way to kind of just finalize this. I'll do some hand cleaning too. There's some dead beetles and larvae on here. You can't possibly get them all off on a skeleton like this. So we put it in the freezer for a day or so after it was done. Yeah, so the probably most ideal way to then preserve the skeleton, instead of just jumping right to glue, would be to basically degrease and whiten the skeleton. So there's a couple ways to do that. With skulls, it's pretty straightforward, but with this many vertebrae and ribs with snakes, it's a careful process. So still contemplating whether I want to just glue it as is. I would like it to be perfect and nice and white, but I'm also afraid of messing it up and having this thing fall apart and me getting overwhelmed. And I don't want to lose the snake. I want to nail it first try, preserving it properly. So the whitening process, again, starts with degreasing. So bones, in the marrow and the bone itself, you can tell from there, it's got kind of a yellow texture to it, and there's fats in the bones that are going to leach out over time and give it an even yellower, greasier look just over the years as it's stored. So the best way to get it nice and white and pretty is to degrease it, which can take months. There's a couple ways to do it. It can be in warm, soapy water. That's one way. The other way is to soak it in ammonia, and that basically causes the fats to leach out, and you got to change the liquid a lot. It can take months to do, but that will get rid of that grease. Following that, you would then soak it in a hydrogen peroxide solution. This basically bleaches it, cleans it, makes it nice and white, and so that's what gives the bones its nice white texture. That would be how like a good quality museum specimen would be. So I am leaning toward that, but I got to do a little more research to make sure I get it right, because yeah, there's a lot of ribs and vertebrae here, and I'm gonna try and keep this thing intact the entire way through. So that being said, especially if I do go that route and it takes months, it may be a while before you guys see the snake again. We've got some other ones on display at our facility on the wall. I don't believe those were degreased though, and so you kind of see that yellow texture to them, or yellow coloration. Honestly, with a snake, it doesn't look that bad though. I'm probably overthinking it, but I may try and see if we can get this one nice and white. So that's my dilemma. In the meantime, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoyed the anatomy lesson that Frank gave us and seeing that necropsy be performed. If you have more questions about beetles, skeleton preservation, There are much more experienced people than me out there, so watch some other YouTube videos and find them. You are welcome to ask questions though. I mean, please do in the comments or over email. I try to get back to every comment I can. And yeah, that being said, thank you guys so much for watching. We appreciate all the likes, comments, shares, subscriptions. Yeah, thanks for your guys' feedback. We've gotten lots of requests for other videos, so everybody who's made a request for a certain video, I am writing it down, I'm keeping it in mind. We're still trying to be faithful about pumping a video out every week. All right, I'm rambling on, better call it. Thank you guys for watching. Have a great day. We'll see you next week.